I don't know why this makes me laugh so hard, but he did say Neanderthal thinking, not you're all Neanderthals, which she owned. She can ditch the present tense because, as you mentioned, they are extinct. And she's also someone that's been very vocal about denying evolution. So I found it fitting that she used that. But I just feel like that this is an example. It shows there's not much to pick on. If this is the words we're parsing, they spend a lot of time talking about how old Biden is. Well, you're going to get words like slacks and ornery and Neanderthal. It's kind of an uncivilized choice to not wear a mask when the science speaks loud and clear. And I think that it's, again, as Sunny mentioned, on the heels of someone who could offend, people 4 times in a sentence, picking on an extinct Homo sapien seems like pretty safe ground for me. As someone who has 2% Neanderthal, I represent my community, I'm not offended.
Yeah, let's have people on The View talk about the science, and the science speaks really clearly on all this stuff. Yeah, so clearly that a year ago, the scientific community, as evidenced by Dr. Fauci himself, had a completely different view. But we've been told, accept the 180 switch in viewpoint and do so because the science says so, even though, nope, sorry. This is a very straightforward thing. If you believe the earth is flat a year ago and now you're telling me the earth is round, I want to know why you've changed your thinking. I'm not just going to say, you must have switched it around because the science speaks to you. No, explain to me why you changed your thinking, because if you were that wrong a year ago, shouldn't it matter as to whether I believe you now? Shouldn't make a difference if you thought the world was round and now you think flat? Whatever. The point is, a 180 switch on something so fundamental, so straightforward. But now this has become such a giant virtue signaling opportunity for people. Double mask. I mean, I know there are people now that are saying things like, if it only works one, this is what the news reports are trying to say over the weekend. A 1% reduction, which is effectively zero, by the way, because of masks. It's effectively zero because it's within the margin of error. You don't even know. So the science doesn't even say that it's reducing it. But, okay, officially the numbers are a tiny, tiny, tiny decrease, a tiny, tiny, tiny decrease. The speed limit really should be 15 miles an hour in this country. And if you don't believe that, you're a monster who thinks people should die. This was the argument I was making a year ago, almost to the day. You either believe in a 15 mile an hour speed limit or you believe that people should die in fiery car wrecks by the thousands every year. There is no difference between the thinking here on a 1% mask mandate effectiveness and a 15 mile an hour speed limit. By the way, better get ready to wear that mask during flu season, because we're told that flu is essentially eradicated by this. That is the official word. I'm just saying. I'm very curious to see, really, the flu virus is so much better contained by our measures than, COVID was basically not really contained at all over this winter. We can all see that. That's quite obvious. Okay, we didn't stop it. We didn't contain it. But the flu was eradicated. 98% decrease in cases. That's interesting, isn't it? But that won't be the case going forward if we go back to normal life, and thousands of people die every year, particularly older people die every year from the flu. So when I was arguing at the beginning, we should have a 15 mile an hour speed limit. We should have been wearing masks all along, and we're monsters during flu season for not doing so. Based on this new logic, people said no, and they got all emotional and they got all frenzied. I listen to science and I'm really smart. No, my argument is sound. What I'm saying is true, was true, is true. And now they don't want to hear it. Now they want to pretend that what some of us saw all along is not the case because it makes them feel like they've been essentially fooled, or that they've been believing something all along that's not true. And their belief in that thing made them feel like they were smart, good people. And folks don't like to give up thinking they're smart and good. They want to hold on to that no matter what. But I read this study out of the CDC. Mask mandates decrease death rates as well by around 1% over a couple of months. This is from Breaking 911. Unbelievable. That's what we were promised. Huh? Really? We're all going to wear masks all the time. Maybe there'll be a 1% decreasing. 1%, folks. That means 99 out of 100, you're walking around with your mask on. thinking, oh, look, we're all wearing our masks in public. Because that's what this really is. There's no mask mandate in your home. We're all wearing our masks in public. Huge amounts of compliance all across the country. And you might reduce cases by 1%? We're really going to pretend that that's what we were led to believe was the case here? No. I'm sorry. I remember the mannequin studies with the spray, and they were saying, 70% of particles, 90% of particles. Somehow it blocks 70 or 80% of all particles out of your mouth, even though viral particles are so small that they would go right through the mesh of a mask, but they say it is clinging to the spittle or to the vapor that comes out of your mouth. Anyway, they're claiming that 70% of everything coming out of your mouth is blocked by these masks, and yet it's a 1% reduction in cases and a 1% reduction in deaths at best. At best, is that what we were? I mean, who here really thinks that they're being honest at this point? Who really thinks that what they're saying in any way lines up? It was wear a mask, save lives. So we've been wearing a mask for a year, and maybe there have been I don't know. They would say a few thousand people, that's what we're really talking about, right? 4,000 or 5,000 people that they think might have been saved by a year of mask mania. And add on top of that, all the distress, the dehumanizing effects, the psychological disorders, the constant discomfort. Like I said, if you believe in masking, you need to believe, if you're going to be morally consistent, you need to believe in a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's effectively impossible to die in a car crash if you're going 15 miles an hour. I mean, almost impossible, right? Meaning if you're in a car and someone else is in a car, you're going 15 miles an hour, modern cars today, you're going to survive that. I mean, unless there's a freak accident. But, then again, a car could just explode for no reason. Who knows, right? But you see, we've established a moral principle. If it saves one life, look what you're seeing now, the authoritarian left mentality that you've been aware of for so many other things. If they have to take every 10-round magazine out of the hands of every American in the country and replace it with a 5-round or a 7-round, which I know they didn't really make, but whatever, they replace it with some other magazine size for a firearm. If that slows down one mass shooter in one shooting by 1 or 2 seconds, it's worth it. This is a gateway to authoritarianism. We all understand that, right? I mean, there's no justification for you to have ever gone out into crowded places, because you could have always been infecting people with flu. It's around you year-round. You don't know. You could always give somebody just a standard cold virus, and folks that have a weakened immune system, they could end up getting pneumonia from it. No, you say, Buck, but we're taking it into absurd territory. Right. Exactly. We've been in absurd territory with this for a year. They told you things were true that were not true, and they keep doing it. And the social media, oligarchs and the morons who run user experience and all this other stuff at these places, who aren't even like the tech engineers, they're the people that are on the softer side of these businesses, who are just little left-wing activists coming out of schools where they didn't actually learn anything other than how to be woke and how to be grievance collectors about all the oppression that they feel. But they told you things that were not true, and you should be aware of that now. You should understand that that is what happened, because they're going to keep telling you things that are untrue about all of this. I mean, the CDC is an abomination. That much should be clear at this point. It's a politicized organization that has failed at every major stage of this pandemic to do anything useful. And now we're going to be gaslit in a way that is just mind-blowing. We're going to be gaslit by people telling us, yeah, that's right. The psychosis of people running around screaming at other people, in some cases getting into, lethal exchanges. There are people who have been shot. People have been beaten to death because they weren't wearing a mask. And yet here we are being told that maybe it reduces cases 1%. And that's max. And trust me, the CDC had to find something. You think the CDC was ever going to come up with a study? Turns out mask mandates don't do anything. But the problem is they can only fudge the data so much. What they told us is so incorrect and so ineffective that it's becoming really hard. So now they're retreating into, yeah, it doesn't work that well, but it works a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Okay. Now the state can say that any level of infringement upon your day-to-day life and on your basic liberties, including your ability to just breathe normally, any infringement that they can claim might save some small percentage of human beings from getting sick and or dying is justified. So you better mask up forever. If you think a 1% mask mandate is just, 1% of cases being reduced by a mask mandate justifies the inconvenience, you mask up forever, because that's what you've established. Mask up forever. COVID will go away. Yeah, there's still the flu. There's still other things out there. You better wear your mask forever or you're a monster. They were wrong all along. And I know that, I focused in on this one, and I've been just because people have been so vicious, so nasty, so stupid. People think they're so smart on this one, and they've been wrong. Yeah. I'll take the buck position on this over the 1% is really effective when it's actually within the margin of error, which means that I can also make the case that it is entirely ineffective based on the CDC's own data. And you could say, Buck, but mandates aren't the same as individual. Okay, well, then why have a mandate? If a mandate doesn't work, what's the point of a mandate? If individuals should just do this on their own, why do we have the government enforcing this, fining people, threatening to lock people up over this? Ask yourself these questions. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.